Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for making time to hear from me about how we might leverage our existing enterprise platform success factors toward digitalization, which would allow us to gain very important insights into our work design and our employee productivity. As you all, I'm sure, are very aware, we have incredibly huge current demands on Western Power and the infrastructure that we take care of, both in the extraordinary expansion of the transmission network, but also we're very aware of like the competitive market for the competitive employment market, where we are facing like upcoming periods with potentially critical labour shortages. In identifying those constraints, it also sort of points to whether we're leveraging non-constraints as much as we could be. And given that we have a digitized version of our employee management system, we're not really utilizing the information and data that we can be gathering in that platform. And it's certainly, not very far away from being able to undergo some transformative digitalization. But to do that, we're going to need to make a few changes to ensure success. When we have a look at what's currently there, it is digitized. We're collecting information, but the information that we are collecting is quite subjective. Like the way that we're rating employees is really up to just a formal leader and the employee. There's no kind of standardized KPIs, and I understand that we have objectives set against employee tasks in the platform, but what we're not seeing is like a uniform way of measuring employee productivity so that we can actually backtrack the task to the work activity and to the strategic initiative that prompted it, that it's sort of bound to. If we were able to do that, we would be able to gain really good insights on how our strategic initiatives are being resourced, whether we can identify some alignments to ensure that we're working smarter, not harder, and just really leveraging our resources as best as we can. Without creating like an employee value proposition that is not being experienced by the felt experience by our employees. So what I'm proposing is that we actually have a look at including some additional parameters, like some process parameters into the existing sort of structure, the existing system. And in doing that, those process parameters can be shaped so that when we're gathering data, they're already kind of like, they have relationships to the strategic initiative and to the area planning that came out of the functional planning and those activities, so that by the time it gets to the employee, we can use some sort of more uniform KPIs, which I'll circulate to you after this meeting, which will allow us to sort of, when we're doing our ratings, we'll be like rating them against very specific tasks that have been planned through the work design process in the platform. Now, I envisage this being extremely helpful to our managers, which we know are part of that labour market that we're going to experience some critical shortages for. And in allowing them to do work design where right from the very beginning of that objective setting sort of cycle, they'll now be able to like track all the way through tasks and capability setting and identify gaps early, which will help us to perhaps move in a more agile way, but it will also allow us to remove duplication, which we know we see a bit of wastage there. So what I'd recommend is that we start investigating what type of parameters can be applied in our existing system, because we don't want to encourage too much disruption to the flow. But if we could have that underway pretty soon, we should then be able to start going through some stakeholder engagement, and I'd really like to make sure it's quite user driven, and have the people that will be using the platform help us to develop it, and that way we can make sure you get the very most relevant insights.